Hey, good afternoon. As I mentioned in an earlier video, I'm going to be doing a series of videos on cost accounting and Oracle Cloud. And I did the first one recently on how to set cost standards. You can find that in the video list. And now I'm going to go through about how to set up the different overheads and talk a little bit about what are the overheads in cloud cost accounting. Let's see. So when we set up costs, overhead, I can put overhead on parts, I can put overhead on labor, equipment, and I can do plants and cost center overheads. So when you do overheads, you need to set up the cost elements that are going to contain those overheads. As in our demo system, we have various cost elements like material, inbound freight, etc., duties, taxes, all kinds of fun things that we can set as overheads. So those need to be set up ahead of time so that you can use those. The other thing with manufactured overheads, let me back that up. You can do manufactured overhead at the plant level. You can do it at the cost center level, which we'll go into. You can also do labor rates on labor, like labor hours and machine hours. We call those resources. Labor and equipment or machines are called resources, and you can put a dollar value per each one of those. And when you do plant overheads and work center overheads, you can do various absorption types. You can do fixed, percentage of material, percentage of total cost. Also, you can do a percentage of everything, so we'll walk over how those work and how to set those up. This PowerPoint that I'm walking through here will be available in the links down below. And so also the last thing you need to make sure that is set up before you can do labor rates or do overheads is get your expense pool set up. Now, expense pools is a required field for labor, for resources, for overheads. But right now, there's no further functionality associated with it. The intent is to be able to match it into the general ledgers. And so what I recommend to my clients is that when you create expense pools, have those equate to a group of general ledger account numbers. That way you can do reporting and do variances, actual versus earned and those kinds of things. So again, this is all the front end to the PowerPoint that I have in the comment box below that you can download and take a look at. So right now, let's go ahead and get into creating these standards. First thing I'm going to do is blow away this one that has, it says it needs a redo, but if I don't get rid of it, it'll cause me problems. So the way we start this is we come into cost accounting. We'll go over and create a scenario. Right, so I'm going to create my scenario, and then we're just going to deal with the overheads. All the rest of the costs, like resources and material, you can see in the previous video. This operations cost book is going to be financial and 080124. I'm going to make this very specific to an item. So that we can go take a look at what happens and what the changes look like. AS 1100. Okay. Have my start date. So then I need to save this, and then I'll get an actions button here. So I'm just going to go into, well, before I do that, I'm going to start with doing overhead on purchase parts. So to do purchase part overhead, we come into manage standard costs. This is where we set up material costs. We click the plus button, and we're going to grab our item here, CM 4751113. We're going to put in our valuation unit, which is going to be 00102 in this database. That just means Atlanta. And we're going to put in a material cost. You don't have to do material here. If you don't want to, you could just set in the overhead rate, but we're going to set this at like $14.95. And then I'm going to come in and do a second cost element. And I'm actually going to pick this inbound freight overhead cost element. And now when you do overheads, as I mentioned before, you need an expense pool. So these are the expense pools that you set up before. I'll search on, we're just going to do an open search. They're all, this database has various countries in here, so we're just going to go look at US. So it should be US procurement. And then what is it? You know, what is the rate per item or quantity of each for this? And let's just say it's $1.25. So what this says is for every item that we buy, every time we buy this item, the total cost is going to be $16.22. $14.95 is for the part, $1.25 is for overhead. And we can go ahead and save that and close. So that's all you have to do to set up an overhead line on an item. Okay. So the next thing we'll do is we'll show how to do overhead on resources. Now this is very similar to what we just showed on an item. So we come in here to our resources, we click plus to add, we'll give our plant. As I mentioned, we're dealing with the Atlanta plant. And the resource is going to be Tech 1, so technician level 1. You notice it's a labor resource. So we're going to click add. Again here, I could just add, I think we just called it here resource overhead or something like that. I could just add a resource overhead rate here. And again, since it's an overhead, it's going to want an expense pool. And I'm just going to pick US MFG and a rate per labor hour. So in this case, I'm going to say, and this would be benefits or things like that, right? Insurance, whatever the other benefits you might offer to your employees. So this is a rate per hour. I can also add in here labor rate if I wish. So I can do these on their own, or I can do them together. And again, since it's a resource, it's going to want an expense pool. And this expense pool in reality might be something like payroll or something like that to get that earned versus actual. And so this is going to be like $35 an hour. So we're going to do a save and create another here. I want to show equipment is the same way. So we're going to click Atlanta. I'm going to click a piece of equipment here. It looks like I can grab my monogram machine. And I can pick a resource. Again, I give my expense pool. So maybe, in fact, this one, we're going to put it in electric. So this just consumes electricity, $2.50 an hour in electricity, very expensive machine to run. And I'm going to do, I think I have a machine rate for the run rate. And $10 an hour to run that machine. And so, in fact, we're going to put US manufacturing, different expense pool. So again, you can play around with the expense pools. You can, part of the process of setting up overheads is going through and determining what those rates are going to be, which rates are you going to use, et cetera. So I'm just showing everything here. So no matter what you choose, you can come in and set those up. So now we've set rates on, and I'm going to do a search here so you can see what we've done. We've set up an overhead on our equipment, and we've also set up an overhead for our labor rates. And so that's all there is to setting to doing overheads on a per hour basis. Now let's get into plant overheads and work center overhead. So here we're going to go to manage overhead rates. Again, we're going to add. First thing I'm going to add is we're going to talk about plant overhead. So I'm going to select Atlanta, and you notice here I have two options, plant and work center. We'll do work center overhead in a minute, but right now we're going to do plant overhead. Now I can take plant overhead down to a very specific item category or a specific item. So, or I can do a global by leaving them blank. And so in this case, I'm going to leave them global. Just why not, right? And we're going to grab a cost element. And we'll start with electric. We're going to grab an expense pool, which is going to be US electric. And then on absorption rates, I have 5 different ways to absorb overhead here under plant overhead. I can do a fixed, I can do a percent, I can do a percent of material costs at all levels, a percent of total costs except the overhead at this level, and a total of all costs, including overheads at all levels. So those are the 5 options. So we'll actually do each one. So electric will start with fixed, and this is just what it says. It's a fixed rate per item that flows through here. The next one that we'll do is, let's do gas, right? Gas bill. And that pool is going to be, we've had to set these up to make them look easy. And this one, I'm going to do a percentage. So the way the percentage works is now it's going to ask for a rate. So we'll just say it's 10% of the material cost going through here. You'll notice that I can add multiple lines of overhead, but to add multiple lines of overhead, I have to have different expense pools set up. I can't do 2 lines to the same expense pool. Oops, that kind of got messed up there, didn't it? So that was electric. Okay, so we're going to do all 5 here. So the next one we're going to do is waste. And that's going to be surprisingly different. We're going to use US manufacturing. And this one, we're going to say a percentage of total costs at all levels. We're going to say that's $7 or 7%. And the next one we're going to do is water, US water. And we're going to do this, which one haven't I done? Material at all levels. I'm going to open this up so I can see them. So we're going to say, this is going to be overheads, excluding overheads at this level. So we'll say that's 11%. And then the last one, just because we want to do all 5. And this is going to be US facility. And this is going to be the bottom one, which includes overhead at all levels. And we'll say that's 12%. So we've added 5 lines of overhead. So every item, since we didn't limit it to an item category or an item, so every item that flows through Atlanta is going to have these 5 overheads added to it. So we're going to say save. And now the last one that we're going to do is in Atlanta. We're going to do work center overheads. Now, work center overheads, you'll notice that there's obviously it acts for the work center and it acts for the resource rate. And these are required. You have to pick one from each. So we're going to say that this is tablet assembly, and this will be found on the work definition. And the resource here, you can click select equipment or labor. And we're going to go ahead and select labor. So the cost element here, I'm just going to go with resource overhead. You can use any of the cost elements that we talked about. And my expense pool is going to be US facility. And then there's 2 different absorption rates. Here's fixed or percentage. So we'll pick one of each. So we're going to say 12% here. And the last one that we're going to do is we're going to send it to the same cost element. Yeah, since they have it both. Expense pool is going to be US MFG. And this is going to be, we did percentage, so this one will be fixed. And that's $2.75. So what this is telling us is that in the tablet assembly work center, if it's labor, excuse me, I want equipment, I want labor. If it's a labor resource, I'm going to add $2.75 to each item, or 12% of labor and 12% of labor. So again, these are additive. So with overheads, you can pick any or all of these overheads to use throughout it. There's no, each one is independent. They act, if you pick one way, you don't have to exclude the other way, so you can do multiple overheads. So we're going to go ahead and save and close this. And again, just to show you what we've done, we're going to go search and open this up. And you can see here that we've done a work center overhead, and we've done a plant overhead, and it shows you the synopsis of what you've done. So with that, the next step in this is we're going to save it, and then we're going to go ahead and roll up the cost, and let's see what it did. So we'll click, oops, roll up costs, submit. And we're going to click our little refresh button until it's finished. Okay, as they say with the magic of television, you can see now this is completed. And so first thing I want to do is go look at scenario exceptions to see if there are any. There's an orphaned resource. I know what that is. I'm not going to worry about it, but if you want to see it, you can click the calendar and it says, hey, there's a resource that's in this that isn't being used. That's fine. Then let's look at the view the roll-up costs. So I'm going to just search on the one item that I did. We can put in the search, click on it. Comments here. You can click detach and you can see more, and then we'll say view, expand all. So this is going to show a complete view of everything that's in this. Also, if you want this in a spreadsheet, by clicking this export to Excel button that's up here, you can download this into a spreadsheet, but I'm not going to do that. We'll do another video that talks about the different ways that spreadsheets are used in cost accounting. But what you can see here is each thing, each area that I changed something, and you can see the different overheads here. There's an overhead here. We have overheads here and here. And then down here at the bottom, also all the different overheads. The overhead column I set up here. So a bit of a red eye chart there, but you can see all the different overheads. If we scroll down, you can see all the different work center and plant overheads that we set up and what their total cost is. So everything is visible and you can see all the changes. This is a recent change they made to the software to see the @ symbol. So there you go. How to set up all those different overheads. In the PowerPoint below, there's information on the first several slides of the PowerPoint that talk about the different types of overhead and what can be done. And the next step would be, if you're happy with this, to go ahead and update standard costs and publish it. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.